for TTQ versus BP. If you have been with us for a little while, then you would know that these guys have seen each other quite a bit. Played each other several times in the Bonanza tournament, which was the one-off tournament that we kind of started this whole thing off with. And so they will both be raring to get another go at each other, as BP definitely got the better end of those trades in that tournament. But with a little bit of time and a little bit of practice, any matchup can absolutely change. So very excited to see where both of these teams are at. It's cool seeing teams that have been in the league for a little while that, you've got to see the players, gotten to meet them, talk to them, do post-game interviews with them, see them play. And it also leads to that kind of rivalry. You have different players that, they want to try to get the one-up on each other. Teams, they want to get the record win. And so hopefully we get a full best-of-3 series between these two teams. Very interested to see where they will be at the end of this series. It's always interesting trying to place teams with power rankings, trying to figure out where exactly they're going to end up in that overall list and what the strength of the teams are. And sometimes you gamble it and you get it right, and sometimes it's a complete surprise which team actually comes out ahead. BP, though, very, very strong team. TTQ, they came alive in the latter half of the Bonanza tournament. Actually showed that they were capable of really kind of pushing it to the limit in terms of their team fighting. And then some of their solo lane advantages that they got were very fun to watch as well. So interested to see where both the teams are at now, but we won't have to wait very long at all, as it's going to be Smolder locked in for the team formerly known as Q, and BP want to go ahead and grab that good old Shen in the top lane. Love Shen. I think he's a great, just all-around, versatile, safe lock-in. If you're trying to blind pick anything on the top side, you want to save your last pick for something a little bit more aggressive, or a little bit more counter-picky. He doesn't really have a lot of bad matchups. He doesn't really lose lane all that heavy. His trades are deceptively damage heavy rather. And then also just having that global ultimate to turn any fight into an uneven fight is really nice. Or to, just get someone out of a bind. Stand United is a fantastic ability. And Senet going to be picked up there in the bot side as well. Interested to see whether or not that'll go support or ADC. Kind of expected to go ADC and possibly pair it with an enchanter. But it could go in the support role, and it could be played as an enchanter, and it could lock in something a little bit more traditional. But draft flexibility is what it gives them. So we'll have to see where they want to put that here the next couple of rounds. Wukong going to be brought in for TTQ. I like this. I like this because not only does that give them some backline threat in terms of just having Wukong being able to go invisible for a brief moment and then just Cyclone on top of your squishier members, but then also it gives some great peel for Smolder. Kind of eliminates some of the innate weaknesses of Smolder in that he only has one get out of jail free card, which is his little flap, and then the flash itself. The Victor also going to be picked up in the mid lane for TTQ, so we'll also benefit from some of that Wukong peel coverage. I will say, though, I am a little bit worried about the counter picks potential that could come out for the Victor. Obviously, they're trying to cover that off a little bit by banning the A-Soul. But there's a lot of champions that are really good into Victor, specifically the Mel, which is still available. Syndra is another great champion into Victor. Orianna, those are just some that are coming to mind. The Aurora, as well, is another champion that could potentially be picked into Victor, and that's a matchup he struggles in. So interested to see how TTQ are going to kind of cover up some of the weaknesses of Victor, which is just that he's immobile. So you'll want to get rid of anything with mobility. Ahri as well, another very, very common pick into Victor. And I think Ahri, another one of those champions too, that not only is it just great as a Victor, but it's also great as a team fighter. It can get a lot of backline access, can get on top of champions like the Smolder, lock them down. So TTQ, they'll need to kind of be a little bit more thoughtful in the draft and how they want to play around covering the Victor. And already starting to see some of the mobility champions. Interesting that the Yasuo was banned away. Typically, we don't see a lot of AD mid laners in this meta just because of how difficult it's been to kind of play them, given the power of these barrage and control mages that we've seen so much of. The mid lane, not only in just within the TLS, but then also within professional play. But obviously seeing something within BP's draft that they just don't want to have to deal with. And it's definitely a comfort ban away. Trying to make sure that there is no easy draft ones. There is BP. They are going to round off some of the heavier engaged tools that TTQ might have been looking for. Take away the Ornn and the Malphite. Makes total sense. Ornn, a great pickup into the Shin as well. One of the great matchups in terms of scaling to late game. And then Malphite, just a popular pick that's being played a lot now. And obviously, again, backline threat. You want to avoid having any giant sentient boulders being launched directly into the people who only have about 2,000 health. That's generally not a fun time. As Darius going to be the ban away. Interesting that was taken away. signaling to me that maybe TTQ believed that the Shin might be a flex towards the jungle. Darius not really in a jungling state anymore, so not sure that that would have been a ban away from necessarily the jungle presence. I would love to talk to TTQ and see what from either scrims or scouting that they saw that made them wary of the Darius. Nautilus going to be picked to round out the Senna, so that kind of confirms she's going to ADC role. Going instead for the Enchanter Bully, they want to go for that sort of late game presence with the full-on committal, non-committal engage with Nautilus, which I like. Honestly, I think Nautilus is kind of underplayed. I think he's a fantastic pick just into just about any matchup, especially in the bot side. Yeah, it gets poked out a little bit early. It's kind of annoying to deal with Enchanters, especially with the gold penalty being removed. But, you know, tanks also benefit from that as well. And if they're able to build more traditional tank items, it's kind of just a free game. So I like that. I like that pickup with the Senna as well. Just a lot of coverage. But it does mean that they'll be a little weak in the early laning phase. So they'll have to navigate that pretty carefully. Going to be the top side pick here. It is going to be the Alawi, not paired alongside, but rather picked alongside with the Zyra, who will be that duo in the bot lane with the Smolder. Alawi, I hate playing against this champion, and we all have horrific solo queue stories where our top laner just feeds the Alawi and then it becomes unmanageable. But in team play can be a little vulnerable. So Syndra going to be the final pick there for BP. But speaking of execution, both these teams trying to execute on their comps. They're both looking for their first win of the season. This is their first series. It's TTQ, it's BP. You know these teams, you love these teams. And looking forward to seeing how this series shapes up. You know, it's a lot of fun when you kind of know both the teams and have gotten to know the players, and especially when there's a lot of stakes in a game like this. The stakes being that, you know, only 4 teams make it to the playoffs. As a reminder, you know, there are 9 teams in this division, and only 4 of them will be making it to the playoffs. So getting that first spot as well is kind of big, because the first ranked team will get to play the number 4 team, and then the number 2 will play number 3. So getting potentially what is effectively the best possible matchup as the first place team is a huge motivation, and I definitely know that a lot of these teams definitely want to play for that. It's a huge deal. It's, you know, it's fine getting second as well. You know, you're in. But, you know, you start to get to that number 3, number 4 spot as, you know, we get through 10 weeks of this. And you can start to get a little bit nervous, wondering whether or not you're going to be in playoffs if you're lower ranked. So, a lot to play for. One of the focal points I think that viewers at home should keep an eye on is this jungle matchup, the Shen and the Wukong. Their clears are actually going to be fairly similar in terms of speed, and they're going to be pathing roughly the same way as well. They both decided to go ahead and start on that top side, so potentially fight at an early scuttle. I expect that really to more go fully Noided's way, just because that bot lane is going to be pushing, because it's Ricky already taking a fair bit of damage. That help are already below half, and that was what we were talking about, some of those early game weaknesses for the Alawi. And Sion, not a care in the world, really unbothered. I wouldn't say he's moisturized, but he's flaky, balding, and otherwise thriving in that top side. Something interesting, too, I think to keep in mind of is it's likely that this series will probably go a best of 3. I would certainly like to see it. And the only other series that we've had go best of 3 so far has been the first series of the season, which was Bush Wookiees versus TBR. Or no, it wasn't versus TBR. It was Bush Wookiees versus... I'm already forgetting. My memory is terrible. 1 second. I'm having a stroke on stream. It's okay. Sorry, Glacier. I don't know why I forgot Glacier. I guess I forgot Glacier because they are a brand new team. My apologies to Glacier. I didn't mean to forget you. But that's the only best of 3 series we've had so far, because that doesn't really mean anything because we're only 2 best of 3 series in. But I say all that to say this, that I would like to see these guys go a full best of 3, because I want to see how deep their draft pockets go, which I think is really important. And kind of goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier, which is that, you know, as the games go on and you start to move outside of your comfort zone, because, you know, more champions get taken off the board and you have bans that become prevalent, it's one of those things that teams kind of have to be cognizant of, and how they want to lock in some of their stronger picks and where they think they can win games. Because if it goes a longer series, you know, you may have to choose a draft where you know it's going to be harder to execute. So, and just as we call it, fully anointed walking away with that scuttle on the bot side makes sense. Route 16 and Sox Clinton. I love that name, Sox Clinton. Having a lot of prio in that lane, and you're already starting to see some of the CS difference build up there a little bit. It's 28 to 23, so it's not, you know, not a lot, but it definitely hurts when you can't accelerate getting your levels the way you want to. This will just be how this goes until both of these guys reach level 6. To be honest with you, it probably requires a jungler intervention, Route 16 and Sox just being far too pushed up, and then calling a Shin ultimate once everyone starts to reach level 6 for them to really bail this out. So fully expect this bot prio to stay there. And the way that should go is fully anointed once he gets ready to do this recall. After he does the next clear, he should look to make his way towards that bot side and play for this dragon, which is going to be that cloud dragon. So neat one to start off with. And she didn't see. Ooh, Root though. Hooked himself potentially to death, flashed out, but it's not going to matter. First blood, Route 16 gets the ignite. It was traded back, but not enough to do any damage, or at least not enough to get the kill. Respect the effort from the Nautilus there, but just a little bit short. We'll get the replay on that one. So the replay timers are a little bit shorter, so hopefully this is a little bit more efficient. But you see there, just a little bit of trading in the mid lane. Now, watch as he starts to back up just a little bit, thinking that maybe they can entice him to get a little bit closer to the tower. They're obviously kind of trying to call for this with Ascendant when she throws out the stun. Right as this wave starts to get very, very close to the tower, they were looking potentially on a timing, thinking that maybe they have enough to get the burst. Does grab him, but then just essentially autos himself to death, and the ignite, plus his low health, not enough to shield. Didn't quite have as much protection as I think he probably thought it would. The result of that is first blood there for TTQ, so feeling happy about that. And it's the moral victory, knowing that you are getting the first kill of the series. And it's a confidence builder, if nothing else. Though one kill does not a serious make. That is for sure. Ooh, Silver. Forced to blow that flash. This Ricky was doing quite a bit of damage. Does make sense, though. It's Ricky had a chance to back, and yeah, Silver had not. So he should be fine. Chased all the way underneath the second turret, though. It's Ricky being a little bit rude. But that dragon is going to go the way of TTQ, as it was predicted. And now for BP, that potential play to try and make something happen. Uh-oh, that's the stun. That's the ultimate. Death Star evening up it to 1-1. Death Star wants to try and walk this out. Arcane Storm not doing quite enough damage. One more auto would do it. Death Star just needs to keep walking. He was juggling back and forth, but it's not enough. The hacker not able to get the kill on the Taylor Swifties. So it's a 2-1 scoreline, but a 1-for-1 trade there in the mid lane overall. It's fully anointed, dropping to the Syndra. I think it's possible that if Death Star just kept walking, he might have been able to avoid the autos, but just started kind of jiggling back and forth there a little bit. So not sure how helpful that was. It was never really going to stop the auto coming through, but you know, maybe it's just one of those things that you do to make yourself feel better. Uh-oh, Baby Josh, he hooks to the wall. He gets stunned up, getting beaten up. Mom over the top. As the E from the Senate, not really going to get much done. Baby Josh just getting the worst of these trades. And that's what we were talking about in draft. That Enchantress bullying that tanks have to put up with. It's turbo and fun. And you pick the tanks, your tank supports, your Gagey heavy supports in draft, feeling that, or at least with the hope that once you reach the late game, you'll be a little bit better off and that your engages will be a little bit easier. But it's that trade-off. You know, very rarely do you... Oh, no! Baby Josh, the third time is not the charm there. The auto does it. Route 16 just has his number. Those hooks have absolutely not been on point for the BP support. He is being punished heavily every single time. It's fine to look for plays, but when you're behind like that and you keep hooking the wall, that is not the play you want to be making. I'm sure he's going to be wishing he could get those down, or get those plays back. 0-2. Not feeling good in that bot side. Uh-oh. Jarrell should be fine. That's this and an ultimate on top of it. One more auto would potentially put him within danger as the passive support item was ticking, but nope, not enough. It just managed to live. But that's how bad this lane is going right now for BP. It's just they have absolutely no control. And the fact that Sox Clinton can just walk up 1v1 the Senna really close to tower and not really be under too much threat, that's kind of a signal of the times to come. And Baby Josh is trying to do what he can to hold this wave. Hacker just goes up there just in time to see the grubs being taken, but The game state not really in a position where they can do anything about it, so it just has to walk away. And that burns. That burns when you're an early game jungler, or at least when you want to try and make plays in the early game as a jungler. You know, feeling like you can't get a whole lot done. Ping's coming out, though. Taylor Swifties doesn't have flash. Hacker, he's going to get the stun, or so rather the taunt for now. Deathstar wants to try and potentially set the stun. Does manage to do so. So Unleash puts him within kill range. Hacker throws down the smite just for a little bit of... just for an extra insurance, just to make sure that the victor was not going anywhere. And good call by BP. BP? Oh my goodness. Good call by BP to focus the flashless victor, which is what you want to do. And that was also something else that we highlighted in draft. The fact that when you're not really in a team fighting situation or you're not grouped up, if you're able to punish the victor's immobility, you can really set yourself up well for kills. And it just makes it a little bit easier too. You can start to solve some of these bot lane issues if you can try to get Deathstar out of this lane. You know, if you can get him a little bit more mobile around the map, maybe potentially look topside, maybe even to help Silver a little bit. You know, if you could get those Scions, if you get the Scion engaged in some early fights, that would be great. But it's all about pressure and where you want to put it right now. And so far, TTQ continued to apply a tremendous amount of pressure on the bot side, and that's really not going to stop until we start to break out of this laning phase. And they're happy with the state of affairs. Route 16, 2 kills. That gold going exactly where you would want it to. He's scaling very, very nicely. He'll be on track to get 225. I mean, pretty decent time, to be honest with you. Now, Route 16, he's going to get ulted up. The teleport, though, behind them. This is the play I was talking about. You want to get the Scion involved, and now they're starting to do so. Route 16 gets rooted up again as the shutdown goes over to the Senna. Fantastic damage. That's exactly what you want. The TP was actually not from the Scion. Sorry, that was, in fact, from Deathstar on that Syndra. Same difference. I still called it. Managed to get one of the two people that wanted to get involved in the team fight, and there we go. So I'm not wrong, chat. I correctly called that one of those two players would get involved, and they did. So really, I'm double right, if you think about it, if you do the math. But speaking of doing the math, Deathstar is trying to do the math about whether or not it was a smart idea to walk up and trade a percentage of his health bar for whatever it is he was trying to get there, and has deduced that it was in fact not, and will be recalling. Side effect of that is the second dragon for TTQ for their troubles on the bot side. They will be collecting this neutral objective. And so good pace for them. They're on track to get a fairly decent timing on a drag point, which is going to put them in a really good position. Especially for BP right now. Even though they've evened out the kills right now, the tempo still does very much feel in TTQ's hands. It definitely feels like the game is theirs to dictate in terms of pacing. And so they'll continue to take these neutral objectives on the bot side. They don't mind a long laning phase too. That's the thing. Like they're not in a hurry to get to break out of these lanes and get to team fighting situations where they're gonna have to contest for objectives as 5. They're perfectly happy to stay in these lanes for an extended period just to allow the Smolder to scale, allow him to get his stacks and become a huge team fighting threat. He's already got his Essence Reaver going and starting to get it stacked. This next dragon, this third dragon, which is going to be the Infernal, which confirms it'll be an Infernal Soul, is going to be a big dragon for BP to play around. You can kind of give the first two without too much of an issue, but the third one, you got to start looking to potentially contest for it. Or you have to find a way to make sure that you're at least trading for a Rift Herald. You really can't allow that many neutrals to go uncontested if you're in a somewhat even game state, because then you start to get put in a position where the game's going to get dictated to you. Sox is going to get hit by the depth charge, but will just walk away. So a little bit of a waste of the ability for Baby Josh, who will wish that he had that one. Lands the hook, not sure where the support is right now. And in fact, he is just going to die. These hooks have not been on point for the BP support, and he gets punished very, very heavily once again. I'm not sure if there's a lack of communication going on there between Drell or... Baby Josh, or if there's just... They're trying to make a play, and they're just biting off a little bit more they can chew, but... They need to be careful because they're giving a lot of gold over to this Smolder, which is really not what they want to be doing. This Smolder is one of your massive late-game threats in terms of shredding through your tanks. But another roam timer here, Rude and Sox, they may be potentially cut off here. Root does not have flash, neither does Sock, so a little bit of CC will lock them down. Root can only use flat 5 to get away just a little bit, but he's going to get tagged up by Death Star. Damage coming through, doesn't even ult it quite yet. Pops the barrier, and he dies just as Mom comes across, and now the Zyra, the next on the chopping block, he goes down. It's 4 strong here on the bot side for BP. They repay the favor so cruelly paid to them, to their support. Now they're going to look to crash this wave and pick up some plates. Huge play for them. And again, just punishing on timer the summonerless bot laners there, the same way that they did to Taylor Swifties in that mid lane. We're going to see that replay. So seeing the top side, no pings coming down, that Scion's even moving. So they feel relatively safe to push this, but again, they're not playing with super deep vision. They have somewhat shallow vision. They see the Shin, but by then it's a little too late because Death Star has already roamed down here. He starts to walk in, and you can see that they really know that they're cut off, so they're trying to see if they can play for something, trying to dodge any of the CC, but it's just not enough. No health bars, not enough summoners to live, and yeah, once that first little bit of CC then comes down, once Route 16 is dead, there's just really nothing that they can do to trade back. As we go back to live, Silver just 1v1 Ricky and the top side, who this was not shown on screen, was just eating turret shots. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you know this, but as part of a balanced breakfast, it is not recommended that you eat a lot of turret shots. They're very caloric, and by caloric I mean that they will just rot your teeth and slowly disintegrate you. Jarrell's doing a really, really good job in this 1v2. Living 4 now, fully anointed. Potentially wanted to go down underneath the turret to dive it, but the teleport from the Syndra cuts off that play. Well done by Jarrell to live that long, and now Silver going to be given some alone time with his topside turret as the Rift Herald has now spawned. And I don't want to make too big a deal out of this, but it is huge that the Senna lives there. Because if he dies, you know, it's just multiple members of 4 TTQ stacked on that bot side. They can start to put a lot of damage on that turret plate. And they could even look to swap it actually at that point, because so much gold would be going over to the Smolder that you could rotate him towards that mid lane and look for a Herald play. But stalling out that law means that they don't have to worry about timers, and they can potentially look to contest for this Rift Herald. But the recalls are just now coming out. Neither team running towards that objective yet, but look to see both of them potentially fight for it. And if we get a full 4v4 or 5-on-5 here in this top side, it's going to be a really big indicator of how this game is going to go for the next several minutes. And to be honest, it'll tell us really who's actually in control, because it's felt like TTQ has had control of the map for the most part, but they've been caught in some of these rotations, some of these moments where they're overextended, catching people without summoners. But at least with this this potential fight, Route 16 and Sox, they will have full summoners. You'll have the barrier, have the flash. But there's going to be no fight as TTQ, they just go ahead and take that objective. They don't even wait for that situation to develop. They get it on a rotation timer as the Dragon's now spawning, and they can look to play towards this mid lane. They could pop the Rift Herald, which is exactly what they do. Summon it in the mid lane. It's a distraction. Someone's going to have to eventually go answer this, or not, and sacrifice. So BP instead, I want to say that they're making the choice to play for the Dragon. To be honest with you, it's really not their choice. TTQ did a really good job of placing that Herald and then cutting off any sort of rotation over there. So they get the maximum value out of the full charge. And the Dragon will reset here, 3,000 health. BP really not comfortable with the state of affairs, but they are going to call their top laner down. As it's Ricky, doesn't have teleport to respond here. He's just going to make the decision to stay towards that top side. Will not complete the recall, but they may be wishing that they had him. Silver looking for the engage now, but the Zyra ulti buys a little space. Hacker goes for it, but doesn't have a lot of support. That's going to be the Senna ulti on top to buy a little bit of space, fully anointed with just a little bit of health. They were attacking the clone, though. Taylor Swifty's the next on the chopping block. The decimating smash sends them straight to the fountain. It's a team fight win and potentially the first Dragon of the game for BP, but they want to get a little bit more. Flash forward from Silver doesn't land the E. The decimating smash also going to be dodged now, but that forces Root to blow his flash just to live. And a huge response by BP in that team fight. They needed to get something out of that for the investment because they had lost so much. Oh, fully anointed. He's invisible, looking for Baby Joss. Wants to get the kill. No, doesn't do it. Baby Joss stuns him, and they get the kill and the Dragon. No smite. Steal for the TTQ jungler BP. They're feeling really good about that now. The trade-off, though, was, on that top side, It's Ricky had plenty of time with those turrets. Got a lot of turret play gold, but may have overstayed his welcome. Is flashed out and will be trying to run out of that top side, though. Death Star, man, landed just to land the knock-up. Putting in the damage. It's Ricky, only a little bit of mana. Not enough damage yet. Death Star, though, needs to be very careful. A full combo from Ricky would kill. But nope, he is going to land the Scout of the Week. And that's enough damage to put It's Ricky in the dirt and send him back to the fountain for a nice little 30-second timeout. So for TTQ, that's not really the way you wanted that to go. They were likely thinking that they had full control over that mid lane, which they did. I mean, placing that Herald there was absolutely the right call. They had cut off the rotation from BP. So it looked really, really good in the beginning that they were going to get the team fight that they wanted or potentially just take the objective away. But great call by BP. They called Silver down on the teleport, got a great engage, managed to split the team through the part side of the river. So you had people exiting towards the lane. Then you had people retaining through the jungle. And then just a follow-up CC. Yes, there were some abilities that kind of missed, and massive shout out to Sox Clinton for using that Zyra ulti to buy a lot of space in that initial engage. But then just the follow-up from BP was really good. The isolating the target, making sure that Taylor Swifties didn't have any chance to make it back to his team and cutting him off. And so now for BP, it's rinse and repeat. Just continue to look for those plays. There's Jarrell. Wants to see if he can get some sort of CC here. Silver going to cut off the rotation from Sox. The Zyra ulti has been placed down. But it's really just for nothing. Decimating Smash going to secure the kill here. Meanwhile, though, teleport to the bot side. This is the Alawi, and this is where you don't want to be. She's got ult, and there's 4 people. They need to walk away from this one. The Cyclone going to be committed as well, but they just want to exit stage right. Hacker manages to get away. Baby Joss is slowed. His position is known, but there's just no further follow-up. And now it's Ricky's too far forward. Death Star gets yet another kill, his 4th of the game. And a potential flank that looked really good for TTQ, and from It's Ricky. Absolutely turned right back around. Fantastic job, BP. Showing why they're the dominant player in this matchup. Huge for them. Well done yet again, BP. They're starting to win these team fights, and they're starting to get into a rhythm. The kind of rhythm that their team comp absolutely revels in. So we get a replay from that. So you see here in the mid lane, they've already started to knock at the Zyra. She's down, but then this looks like for TTQ, they're going to be able to get something out of this. It's Ricky on the backside, 4 people. This is the dream scenario for the Alawi. 4 people stuck in a massive AoE ulti, but then no one goes down. Yes, the Nautilus gets slowed on the other side, but then you're too far forward. And that is absolutely the go signal for Death Star to follow up with the Scout of the Week. And the ultimate thrown into the Fishmonger's back. And that's exactly what you want to see for BP, knowing that you can take those fights back on out of a sticky situation and turn around and get a kill. Now, they end up giving the mid lane turret for that, but honestly, if you're BP, you're fine with that trade. Yes, it sucks to not have that additional safety rotating through the map that you typically rely on, but huge job for them to win these fights. You won't miss that turret later whenever you got a much more sizable gold lead. It's almost 3,000 right now that they've managed to build up, especially off of a harder laning phase for Baby Joss and Jarrell, but they're starting to answer that back now. It is still a 40 CS difference there between the two. Root, obviously, on that Smolder doing a really, really good job of staying farmed. But that gap will start to close, especially as the map opens up quite a bit more. But for now, TTQ, they'll be able to use the advantage that they have of the additional map safety, knowing that they can play towards their bot and mid towers if they need to. They can retreat to those structures. And then also, it allows them to play more aggressively for vision, too, knowing that if you can rotate through your tower and then take a quick dip into the enemy's jungle, play some aggressive vision. It frees up your playmaking capability. And TTQ, they're going to look to start to try to get their own team fight going here soon. This has been 2 largely unanswered kind of 4v4s, almost fight, and well, 1 5v5 in that drag fight. But 2 largely unanswered team fights where they haven't been really able to get much out of it other than just trading for objectives across the map. And so you're going to see them want to try and trade back, but the way to do that is by not getting stunned up and hit by a Scout of the Week. As Arcane Storm going to be coming down, Taylor Swifties managed to deliver with a sliver of health with the Senna ultimate just to make sure that he doesn't get away. The Pink's coming down, teleporting out from the Syndra, making sure that she can't get stunned with their hacker, just going to try and walk his way out of there. Manages to flash. As a TTQ, they were looking to try to trade something back. They do get the teleport out of the Syndra and the flash from the Shen, but that's really not what you want. It's nice to get some summoners, but ultimately you would have liked to get a kill back. BP staying quick and nimble on the map, making sure that they don't get locked down. And again, yet another trade that TTQ have been unable to trade back for. Now Syndra running back across the map, won't have the ultimate here. Or no, rather will have the ultimate. The ultimate was not committed in that last fight. Pink's coming down though. Sion keeping this Alawi busy. Jarrell got to stand united. Now they can look to try and re-engage the Scout of the Week on top of Root. Wants to try and get away. Sorry, Sox couldn't. Going to be the next one to get stunned up. Mom on the back line, though. Like a little bit of space. Flash forward from Root. Wants to try and get the execute, but not able to do it. Jarrell turns it back. It looked like potentially the multiple players were in execute range Oh, but the Smole, they're not able to do it, and now the drag is BP's to take Taylor Swifties and Socks. They might have something to say about this. He's back and he's strong, but he used the Arcane Storm in the last fight. It will start to come up here soon. But 3,000 damage, fully anointed, and the Hacker, they're here. Grab onto the wrong clone, though, and they managed to steal it away. Now, what else can they get? 2 more teleports committed from both teams. This is a long team fight. Taylor Swifties is the next to get stunned up. Decimating Smash will put damage into the Victor. Terrell just trying to live. Double kill for the Hacker. Meanwhile, though, it's Ricky wants to see what he can get done. Silver commits the point blank ult. Fighting so long. It's Ricky decimating Smash. He's stunned. He's taunted. And he might just be able to get away despite everything that BP have thrown into him. But Silver is unwilling to let it go. Hacker goes on a rampage. The Zyra joins him next. Death Star on a killing spree. And BP, they lose the Dragon, but they are in control. TTQ, they managed to walk away with an objective, but that is not what you wanted. It's a messy, messy fight. Kills back and forth over and over again, but BP, as they displayed in that tournament when we first saw these guys play, have proved over and over again that they have the ability to team fight unlike anybody else. And fight after fight, they took their on the thinnest margins. They were taking that fight, and it looked like everybody was going to drop so many times. From the moment that Root flashed in, thinking he was going to get multiple executes, but gets stunned against the wall and just gets eliminated, to the multiple teleport commit both sides. It's Ricky again, the shiny moment. You're thinking this is it. Alawi in the Dragon Pit, people all around him. I ulti, I get 5 kills. No. BP doing an excellent job in target prioritization, making sure that Alawi was not able to get what she wanted out of that fight. And yes, it was the 3rd dragon picked up by TTQ. But Baggy Pampers are going to be really, really happy with the state of the affairs. They've got a 5,000 gold lead. They've got massive gold advantages on the majority of their carries now. The Senna, the Syndra, and even the Shen. You've got massive gold advantages. And it's going to be very, very difficult for TTQ to start to put that away. Because we talked about the scaling factor for Route 16, but Jarrell on that Senna also has pseudo-infinite scaling, more attack speed, more range. And it starts to reach a point where you can't even be on the same screen as that Senna once she starts to get kills. 5, 1, and 7 there for Jarrell, but he may be in a little bit of damage here, though. Mom not able to grab enough space. The Stand United giving that shield, making sure that he doesn't drop. Every time Route 16 is flat, maybe he has a moment to get another execute in the last 10 minutes. It has just absolutely been turned right around on him. And now they might potentially be looking for this Baron. They want to ping out, though, this Victor. He has no flash. He has teleport, but he's going to have to try and get himself to safety. And he's going to have to do it right now, but he may be way, way too late. The Hacker and the Death Star, they want to knock this Victor down. If they get him, it'll be a lot easier to secure the big purple worm. And the Silver, he won't have teleport to join this, but it won't even matter. They shouldn't need him. There's 4 people here on the top side. There's just no way Taylor Swifties lives. He gets locked down. Jarrell collecting yet another kill. They're going to ping to go protect this mid lane. They're going to push out the waves and start to look for this Baron setup. And with Silver having a level advantage and a gold advantage over... Well, I say gold advantage. It's really even gold, but he has an itemization advantage right now with the Hall of Radiance and the Sunfire. He's feeling really, really good. Or sorry, is that Hunt? No, that's... Unending Despair. So I don't know why I call that Hall of Radiance. It's Unending Despair. Uh-oh. It's Ricky. He's going to be getting the same treatment as his fellow mid laner just got. It's the knock-up. It's the stun. It's a wombo combo party jamboree. He gets sent straight to the fountain. And this should just be the call there for them to go to the Baron. There's really no reason you should be delaying this. You can push out these waves. But their call may be instead to go and wait for this dragon to spawn and potentially take yet another team fight. And that's likely what they're going to do. They're going to shove these waves out. They don't want to give this potential dragon point over. And that's sensible. TTQ could look to grab it while BP goes and does the Baron if they get vision that that's happening. And so BP, I think, going to make the smarter call and look to play for the dragon objective and at least try and get closer to parity. They'll still be on drag point for the foreseeable future, for at least for one more drag after this one, but at least it's something that they can push till later. And the big fight, honestly, the big goal for them is not even to get this dragon. Yes, they want it. They don't want to give Drag Soul, and Fertile Dragon on TTQ right now would really start to pose some problems for BP, but that's not the main objective. The main objective is to get a good team fight, which they're absolutely able to do. They've demonstrated that several times in this game. And now it's just about rinsing and repeating, making sure they pick the right targets, setting up a death brush. Silver right now on clearance duty, wants to make sure that he can push out these waves, get a little bit of space. They want to just cut out all the avenues. That's the hook on top of Route 16, who is forced to flash. That is a huge summoner to be losing on the Smolder right there. Flash, though. Traded back over is fully annoyed. Saw potentially an angle there. And DevStar on that Syndra will be without that summoner, so it's a 1-for-1 summoner there on the carries. But BP right now, they have access to this dragon. It's Ricky, though. He wants to try and push out that bot wave and look for his own entrance into the river. The dragon's been started off by BP, though. This is a potentially huge fight. This could be what decides the game. Silver just trying to buy space. Is going to land the Decimating Smash on top of the Scatter of the Weak. Fully anointed now. Wanted to try and find his way into the Dragon Pit, but wasn't able to do so. Silver sacrifices the majority of his health bar, but they get the dragon. They happen with the objective, and so they leave. And for an unconscionable moment there, it looked like perhaps that was going to be a kill with the Decimating Smash and the Scatter of the Weak landing. But that's how close this game is. That's the margins that both these teams are playing on. One single CC ability landing could decide the game. Now both teams potentially looking to play for the big purple worm. All right, let's calm it down a little bit. So we've been talking a lot about BP, but TTQ, they have ways back in this game. They're showing that their Smolders, when left untouched on that backside, is doing a tremendous amount of damage. That's something that both the Hacker and Silver really need to be aware of, because if you take too long of an extended trade with TTQ, they will start to run away with a team fight. But their main issue has been that they've been forced to blow important Summer's flash en route. Got hooked up by Baby Josh in that mid lane, and it made it really, really difficult for them to work forward into that dragon area. And even with It's Ricky getting priority in that bot side and pushing out the wave, there just wasn't enough space for them to work with, and It's Ricky wasn't enough of a threat for BP to really feel like they were threatened. But you can still set up those potential Wamo combos if you can get the full-on 5v5 team fight. If you can find an area of the map where the vision is a little bit lacking for BP and then get It's Ricky there early and not try and bring him in on a late TP flank, you have opportunities to set up and win those fights, and it's just about finding those moments. But the kicker is, though, BP, they know that as soon as they don't see that Alawi on the map, that she might be roaming around with a team, they're going to stay cognizant of that. The other big thing, too, is on some of the choicier targets that TTQ would like to go for, both on the Senna and the Syndra, the Hacker has been Johnny on the spot with that Stand United, making sure that those team fights are not even, or that any potential pick onto his carries is denied. And that was what we were talking about in draft. Just the insane value that you get out of a global ultimate like that, and how difficult it can be to play against a team that's able to use that. So TTQ, if they can find a way to blow that advantage, get that Stand United out of Hacker early, it might be worth, but they're starting to try to start up the Baron. Teleport's going to be committed here from Silver. The recall being completed, and will be looking to teleport out, but this Baron is spotted, so they were trying to see if they could force something else out. They do get the teleport from Silver finally. As I called out the wrong person teleporting earlier, said they will be happy to walk away with that. It only cost them a little bit of their health bar, so they'll be A-okay with that trade, and they'll look to potentially do that again. And that's a good step for TTQ. You just want to find ways to force BP to respond to what you're doing. You don't want to be on the back foot all the time when you feel like BP's setting up these team fights. So I like the adaptation. I like the call there. It's just small incremental advantages, trying to see what they can get. It's little things like that that can make a difference in a game. So we've reached the 32-minute mark, so we're starting to get close to that late game. We're starting to see the 4th and 5th item completions coming out from all the carries. 3 items completed for Root. 4 items complete there for Jarrell, who has the gold advantage. Obviously, is at a CC deficit, or CS deficit, but that really doesn't matter at this point. His individual gold advantage is down. Wait a minute! That's TTQ sneaking the Baron. That goes missed to the screen. I'm sorry, I completely just was enamored by this topside matchup. So they will have purple, and they'll be wearing that for the next 2 and roughly a half minutes. So that was the early investment by TTQ paying off. The Silver stuck in that top side. They absolutely had the damage between the Victor and the Smolder. It's a huge deal for them to get that down. I can't believe they just snuck that under the noses of BP. There was really no chance for them to respond, and it went down so quickly. It caught even me sleeping on that one. And a great time to get the Baron now, too, because a Dragon is going to be spawning in roughly 45 seconds, which would be good for BP. A potential drag soul for them if they can try and steal this one or get involved in the fight early, get early control over the river. But that's easier said than done. BP has demonstrated that they have the ability to position very, very well in team fights and get a pick. And keep your eyes peeled on Route 16 and Taylor Swifties. They both have their flashes here. BP would very much like to get those summers if they could. Fully anointed. Scat of the week. And almost a full combo there. If he gets even a little bit lower, Death Star might consider committing the ultimate there. Taylor Swifties in that top side has a teleport to join his friends. Fully anointed, completing the Trinity Force. Now wants to run back out onto the Rift, but is going to be arriving at this play a little bit early as Silver ults himself into a wall. Not sure that's where he wanted to go. A frantic ping's coming down. Victor up, teleporting out to the bottom side of this river. The health bar starting to get a little bit low for Josh. And that's going to be ultimate committed. Mom over the top. The clone buying a little bit of space there. They allow it doing damage on it there, but Death Star goes on a rampage. The Senate is dead automatically. Death Star getting the stand united. Meanwhile, it's Ricky trying to see what he can do on the backside. Gets rooted up. Flash for fully anointed. Wants to get the Cyclone down. Manages to get on top of Jarrell. A momentary stun, though. Steals it away. The minions kill the turret, but TTQ, they gotta get the hell out of Dodge. You have no jungler, you have no hope to get this dragon. As Death Star is unstoppable, as Jarrell with a double kill, third dragon for BP. As TTQ lose yet another fight in the Dragon Pit. And they may have been wearing purple. Oh, but BP, they're wearing red. They're seeing red. Not just because they're on the red side, but that Infernal Soul, just one more dragon closer, and now they can really start to put the damage into these TTQ structures. Yet another team fight goes their way, and BP just seem unstoppable in these fights. No matter what TTQ do, no matter what objective they manage to grab beforehand, no matter where they seem to position, it just doesn't matter. It's Ricky again in a fantastic position, getting a multi-man ultimate, again looking like he has enough damage to just get the health low enough for Root to do damage, but it's just for naught. Every time the CC is on point for BP, stopping him, holding him up, and even fully anointed, again, looking like he was going to be able to get that multi-man Cyclone on top of Jarrell, making sure that he could at least knock down the Senna. But again, a little bit of CC spells his doom. And now, TTQ, you have to start to be really concerned because you're starting to reach this late game and you're no closer to winning these team fights than you were even 10, 15 minutes ago. And the advantage of that Nautilus, of suffering through those early game woes, starting to disappear. That advantage, rather, growing, but the woes, the pain that you felt starting to disappear as Baby Josh definitely making up for some of the earlier mistakes. Some key engages and some key interference on... key interference on both fully anointed on it, and it's Ricky, as he's going to get stunned up yet again. Sox Quentin, flash forward, dead immediately. Blink, and you would miss that he was even there. Just a shriveled plant left to mark that he was ever even alive. As BP now, they want to start this siege, and they have a really long-range siege too with the Senna. They may not have Baron, but they don't even need it. They're just going to kind of shepherd the waves in. Thankfully, though, TTQ, they have really good wave clear between the Victor and the Smolder, so they can just continually clear those waves away. But that's how little time it takes for BP to just delete somebody off the map. It was just one little bit of CC landing on top of Sox Clinton, and he was just gone. And TTQ just not watching their positioning multiple times, both in teamfights and in this lane. And that started to cost them multiple times. Not only just through this game, but even just more recently. It's Ricky going to be caught off from Root. They'd like to potentially find the Smolder. Ping's coming down from TTQ. Want to see if they can respond with something, but just not able to yet. And TTQ, though, they've done a really, really good job in clearing out these waves and making sure the BP can't get the siege that they want going. And BP kind of an awkward spot right now where they're not able to force these waves in as much as they'd want to. They're not able to get the damage on the structures they would like. Even though we were calling it earlier that, you know, off of that team fight, they should have been able to get quite a bit more done. Just the waves weren't in a great state and they had to go reset. The Baron going to be spawning in the next 35 seconds. Recall's going to be completed here for BP, and they're going to run out in the map. This time, they will not be caught sleeping, presumably, on this Baron. And for both of these teams, this Baron fight's really going to be where this game is won or lost because we're so late into the game now. And the respawn timers are too long. If you lose this fight and multiple members of the other team are still alive, you definitely can't end with it. And TTQ, they know where BP wants to go with this. The pings onto the Baron area. They want to try and make their way there. There's Baby Josh and Silver going to try and run to play catch up with their team, the Hacker. Going to throw the smite down to make sure that they get a little bit of dedicated vision there. Taylor Swifty stepping forward. They managed to get the stun on top of him. He needs to be careful. Has to blow the flash early. He's on the backside of this one, but he manages to get the shutdown on the Death Star, and that's where they want to start this off. Jarrell throws out the ultimate from the Senna, but they don't get anything out of that. Okay, TTQ, they get the pick. What else can they look for? The Taylor Swifties potentially looked like he was caught on the wrong side of that fight, but manages to delete Death Star. Now they can look to start to walk towards this neutral objective. They can look to potentially try and secure the Baron for themselves. It's Ricky doing a really good job into pushing the bot side wave. So now BP, they're going to be pulled in multiple directions. They have to decide what they're going to answer to. And it will just be that they're going to go stop this Alawi. Ping's coming down. They cannot play for both objectives. They will just choose to kill the top laner here for TTQ. He is not going to get out of this. He's going to get taunted up close to the turret. Silver going to land the decimating smash. They're going to force out the ultimate. Just not doing anything yet as the damage going down on top of the clone, but the ultimate is not going to time out. And he's stuck between a rock and a hard place with multiple angry members. Even as I say that, though, he's still living. But eventually he's going to go down here. Jarrell will manage to collect that in the end. So it will be 4 for TTQ wearing purple, but he's going to go down right as this dragon is spawning. Ping's coming down. Fully anointed Taylor Swifties. They would like to see if they can absolutely steal this objective away, but they're going to be contested. And again, same situation as the last time they fought for Dragon. TTQ wearing purple, BP with the man advantage right now, with the positional advantage. They're here first. Both of these teams want the Infernal Soul, but BP wants it more. And it's all going to be about who can execute on it. Baby Josh missing about a third of his health right now. And that's significant. And the last time we saw those guys fight towards the Baron, getting separated, getting out there late was the difference between being able to make a play and not. Keep your eyes on the Victor and on the Smolder, though, because they have no teleport. It's going to be the Zonia's activation for Taylor Swifties, but he gets hit by the decimating smash Cyclone to try and buy a little bit of space, but it's only onto the tanks. That's not what they wanted. Jarrell wants to see what he can get. It's a double kill for the Senna, and BP have once again found another monstrous engage, another monstrous team fight. 2 quick kills go over to them. Route 16, he might be caught up here. Decimating smash. The respawn timers are long. The Dragon Soul is going to go the way of BP. They're wearing turbo red now. They're like a fiery hot sriracha, and they're looking to burn down the base with the hot sauce of doom. And TTQ, yet another fight that they've lost. And definitely not what you wanted. That Baron, again, going to amount to basically nothing. Yes, it's an exposed base for BP. But now it's the Dragon Soul in the hands of BP. And this makes this game so much longer in a 41-minute game. Guys, you wanted a best of 3 series. You wanted an absolute banger. We're getting it. These teams showing up, playing for everything. You'd think this was a playoff game with how hard these guys are playing. But a 30-8 lead, and that's one of the craziest parts of this game. Is it's a 30-8 scoreline, but TTQ somehow still feel like they're very much in this game. Like somehow they're still dictating the pace, and it feels like they have more kills than they really do. Zox couldn't, though. He might be the next kill up here for BP, as he's just going to get absolutely deleted. And that's not what they wanted, and now the siege can truly begin. My God, Jarrell with that damage onto that mid lane tower. Absolutely shredded the crystalline growth there. Now TTQ, they have to play base defense. They're grouped up here in this mid lane as 4. And BP, I don't like this play. I'd like to see them break it up a little bit. I'd like to see them try and push the top wave and that bot wave and apply pressure across the map. I'm really not a fan of when teams do this. I think you lose a lot on the map by not trying to spread out your advantage, especially when you have the advantage right now. It's still even 13 seconds for Sox Clinton. It was plenty of time for them to go up towards those lanes and equalize them. The Hacker, though, wants to try and see what he can get done, but that's not the current you're looking for. But they do manage to get the Smolder on the backside. It's Ricky trying to buy space for his damage carries to do anything, but there's just nothing left, nothing he could do. Is Jarrell going to go legendary? Taylor golden underneath the turret. A double for the Senna yet again. Sox manages to trade for the mid laner of BP, but that's just a consolation prize, my friend. Oh, Sox quit. No, he's just going. Oh, Sox, bye-bye! Dead underneath the turret. Silver helping to make sure that the turret gets secured. BP, they're looking to secure their first win. As the Death Timer's just too long. BP, it was a little bit of a shaky game in some places. It looked like its Ricky was going to be a massive threat. Continuing pushing that bot side, but they have answered it through amazing team fighting, great coordination, great shot calling, constantly getting the carries of TTQ, and they are going to grab their first win of this series. They move to 1-0 and potentially to a match point. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Game number 2 coming right up after this. BP, they want to make this an easy 2-0 series if they can. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, it only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. In TTQ, they'll need something a little bit stronger than a hand grenade to blow away BP because they are at the mercy in this next game. So BP will be looking to put their stamp in this game number 2 and walk away with a clean 2-0 if they can get it. But TTQ, though, if they showed anything, is that they can hang tough in a long series. And so potentially some picks that they won't have to worry about now as we get into this second draft. Things that they may not be as worried about. Maybe just a little bit relieved that maybe some of those comfort picks for VP are now gone. Of course, we're not privy to all the scrims and the drafting stuff, so not necessarily sure if all of those tools are gone. Well, that remains rather to be seen as we get into this next draft. The bans being kept roughly the same here for BP as the Bard and the Aurelian Soul going to be taken off the board here. And Yorick and Urgot also going to be hitting the ban board as well. So a number of these bans staying the same. For TTQ, I'd like them to draft a little bit more mobility. I liked the sort of tanking covers that they had. I think that the Alawi was a decent idea, but just fell short in execution multiple times where you thought that her damage would be just a little bit better and she'd be able to get more done. But just every time It's Ricky went in with that champion, it just felt like it was a little bit short, just a yard shy or a minute too, or like a second too short. And Mordekaiser and Janet going to be the final bans of round number 1. Do either of these teams try and drastically shake it up here as BP want to lock in the Ashe? Potentially look to see them lock in the Seraphine alongside there if it doesn't get picked away here from TTQ. That Ashe Seraphine bot lane is just a disgusting combo. Hasn't been really tampered with by Riot in any way, so perceivably will remain strong for the near future. TTQ, if they do give it up, they need to have a strong answer for it. Something like an Ezreal Karma, or potentially an Aurora, or sorry, not Aurora, a Yanara, and another Enchanter. They will instead to draft the Nocturne, so I like this, answering with their own semi-global. They want to make sure that they're not at the weakness of that, like they were in the last game. Interested to see what they'll pair with this, though, because Nocturne does need some dive partners, and those partners need to have some, not only follow, but they need to have some movement abilities to follow up with that to get in range of Nocturne diving. And Lucian is a great champion to potentially follow up on that. It also gives them even more early game threat in that lane. So I like that continued focus there, that continued prio. What will BP answer with, though? To see if they lock in the Seraphine here and then potentially answer the jungle pick. Especially knowing that they already seen the ADC from TTQ, and they already know that that Nocturne is going towards the jungle. So they can look to draft something that offers a little bit of protection from that Nocturne. The Dr. Mundo would be great just in the jungle 1v1. Of course, it could go towards the top side, but I think personally would be a great matchup to Nocturne, who would struggle to kind of out-trade that Dr. Mundo in long fights. Is Melio going to be the pickup there for Ashe instead of the Seraphine? So instead opting to go with a little bit more direct healing and a little bit more lane prio potentially with the Melio as far as setting up some easier early ganks. And Cozy Campfire also a really neat ability for keeping your team nice and healthy and strong, as Ornn is going to be the pickup there in the top side. And so for BP, this will make that draft a little bit easier in terms of they already know where that top jungle focus is going to be and how they want to play that, and they can draft some potentially favorable matchups into the Ornn, who is a very strong champion just in general. Again, Ornn very much like Shen in that he doesn't have a tremendous number of losing matchups, but he can't be bullied out, and there are some champions that I think BP might potentially look forward to if they don't want to just directly slot the Dr. Mundo into the jungle. They could potentially move him up there to answer the Ornn, but with the draft flexibility they have. Right now, I would expect the Dr. Numundo to be in the jungle. I think it's a favorable matchup against the Nocturne. But potentially BP might see a different angle, as Silas was going to be the takeaway there from TTQ. I think that's a great takeaway as well. Some really, really good ultimates that a Silas could potentially steal away. Is Yuumi going to be the selection there for the Lucian? Very interesting. I guess it makes a little bit of sense, empowering that Lucian and eliminating a target to be focused in on that bot side, but then the kicker for that is everything's just going to immediately be thrown onto Lucian, and Yumi's healing power is like non-existent. So in terms of lane sustain, a little bit suspicious. If you were going to go with the Yuumi, I think it might have been better to look towards a dedicated healer like Nami, which is like the tried and true combination there. As Aurora, going to be the selection in the mid lane. Love this champion. Potential answer for a not a Samira, a Mel in the mid lane, which I think would be a decent answer to the Aurora, especially in the team fighting sense. BP, do they flex this Mundo into the top lane role, or do they just grab a top laner here? A number of really good champions available. Gnar, Cassante, and Bessa are available, but they will instead go with the Cassante. And TTQ now left to them to round out the draft. They still need a mid laner. There's a number of them that are really good that could answer this Aurora. Ari, Mel come to mind. Potentially Orianna as well. Ryze would even be a decent pick into the Aurora. But TTQ gonna lock in some mid lane trading power. I absolutely agree with this pick. I think it's a great selection, especially into everything that BP. They can try and put that one away as we are onto the Rift for game number 2. Is TTQ, they're down one game, but they could definitely answer back, especially with what they've drafted here. And for BP, it's going to be about getting through this early game and just being aware that you're going to have moments in levels 1 through 5 before Nocturne gets access to his ultimate, before he shuts out the light, that you can try and make some early plays and get some advantages, but then really important for them to recognize that once Nocturne reaches level 6, that ever-present ganking threat is immense. You know, one wrong misstep, just a little bit of a low health bar, one little bit of CC that gets you for just one moment too long, and fully anointed is going to be on them like white on rice. But BP, no slouches either. They proved that in their first game. They have the ability to answer what TTQ want to do. They have the ability to navigate this early game. They just need to be a little bit cautious. I would say their late game is much more difficult to pull off, though, just because of the innate scaling that the Ornn's going to offer the team. Now, it is a little bit of a dichotomy in that they drafted this Ornn, but then they don't have, like, infinitely scaling champions. They don't have anyone that becomes this ungodly late game threat. Don't get me wrong, like, Orianna is a late game threat in that she's, you know, her damage is really good, but it's nothing like having, it's not the same as having, like, a Victor or a Ryze or a Cass or something like that, where their late game is just, like, ungodly hard to deal with. Root going to get the early level 2 and immediately start to make use of it. So the damage is good, but it's not the same as if they'd had some hyper scaling late game threats. But the ornaments, I mean, on any kind of composition are going to do a tremendous amount of work, and so that is still something innately that BP will have to kind of deal with. And the other thing is too is they're in the same limitation in that their damage does eventually reach a hard ceiling. As Exhaust can be thrown down on top of Root, wants to try and get away from this, but the health bars are really, really good here. Is the kickball going to hit Sox Clinton right in the book? Knock him back a little bit. And it's early at bot lane, kind of going the same way it did in that first game in that Root and Sox. Uh-oh, Jarrell, this is not what we want. This is going to be the opposite of what we saw the first time. Root, though, manages to get a little bit of health off the level up. Baby Josh might have had him within position. As the minions doing enough damage, the tower shot, was the shield enough? No! Baby Josh trades 1 for 1. Root, all he had to do was walk out, but gives the kill over. He has first blood, so he'll be happy with that at least, but he'll be kicking himself that he traded that over. Didn't need to. Baby Josh, not where you would have wanted that kill to go, but they'll at least be happy to trade it 1 for 1. The minions were just doing so much damage there, and perhaps Root just thought he needed to jump forward to get that kill, because I guess just assumed maybe he was going to die automatically, both to the auto attacks that Baby Josh was throwing out and to the minions, and even the Yuumi jumping on top of him, that shielding was just not enough. That turret shot from that range is more than enough damage. So a little bit opposite of what we saw in that first game in that bot side. These BP, they were relatively unable to trade early on in that bot side, and even Baby Josh was getting it taken advantage of, but at least they're able to trade 1-for-1 there. But not the worst thing in the world for TTQ. That's fine. You're doing what your early game comp is supposed to do. Getting aggressive early game trading. Potentially setting yourself up for ganks as we reach like the 5 to 6 minute mark once we start to see those level 6s come through. And fully anointed. Just focusing on power clearing wants to reach that level 7 as that Nocturne. So he can start applying that pressure across the map. Root, though, just be really aggressive with these trades. Jarrell trying to flash out. In that passive healing. Baby Josh just keeping him alive right now. Root, though, being so pesky on this Lucian. And this is the difficulty we highlighted is don't pay too much attention to how that kill went down. Yes, unfortunate that Root did give himself over underneath that turret, but that doesn't really equate to a whole lot. This Lucian is just going to be oppressive in this bot side. And that'll be how this game goes until really they start to break out these laning phases. And then potentially you can look to see BP start to try and, go back to what they were doing in the first game and start to win team fights. But for now, this is just the Pain City. Is Baby Josh. One more auto would knock him down. Is Root with that Sheen just blowing through the health bars here of these BP bot laners. And right now, Jarrell just trying to trade for, or trying to collect these minions underneath the tower. Root needs to be careful of his pathing. Don't want to get caught underneath the turret here. No, Hacker's here, but it will just be looking to clear away some of these Krugs. And even if something were to happen underneath the turret here, just with the walking distance he has, Jarrell or Baby Josh are within the execution range, honestly. And so they need to be very careful and try and play back behind this turret. They don't want to give over any extra gold if they can. One kill on Lucian's bad enough right now. But Root and them may have overstayed their welcome. Wasn't spotted on an award. And now Root, he is going to get one kill. That's what we're talking about. The walking distance puts him within threat. But the Hacker has the ability to trade at least for one. He's going to knock him down. And now Sox has to try and see if he can get over to Fully Anointed. The Exhausted came down just to make sure that the damage wasn't tradable. Fully Anointed, what can he get? He's going to get the fear underneath the turret. Flash out from Hacker. Doesn't go down 1-for-1 again in the end. As Root was punished for his aggression, but gives over really not a meaningful amount of gold. But still, this Lucian being traded at all is still not what you want. Flash from Fully Anointed. He's going to get the double kill underneath the turret. Oh, that's what you like to see. TTQ. Heads up play from Fully Anointed. Flash forward. Absolutely abuses the health bar. He's going to be really happy about that trade. Yeah, he'll take that. I'll sacrifice my ADC to get you guys to low and then just do a little bit of pow. A little bit of kill stealing there. Of course, can't say it was stealing if you weren't a part of the assist, so I don't want to hear Root in the post-game interview if they win this series saying, oh, I jungler stole his kills. They weren't yours, buddy. I didn't see you on that assist list. And just as it was in Game 1, TTQ getting that first dragon. We're happy to have that objective. Potentially, BP can rewrite the script, though, and look for this Herald once it respawns in about 1 minute and 20 seconds. As Hacker looking to go steal away some of these juicy camps. Trying to start with the red buff, knowing that Nocturne is still on that bot side. He doesn't know that the RuPaul Drag Race, no. That the recall has been complete. Baby Josh, you're on the wrong side of this. That's a level 6 there on top of the Ash, and both of these guys might be dying. Switches targets instead to go over to Baby Josh. Not sure that it was worth for him to go on top of the Ash. Probably should have just targeted Baby Josh from the beginning. Jarrell was always close enough to the turret that it wasn't going to be enough damage all on his own. So iffy target placement, kind of a waste of that ultimate. Not what you would have wanted out of that Nocturne, especially with the fact that they had already ganked that bot side. So, but does get the summoners out of Baby Josh, so that should just be a Reezy E-gank here, and then Re-gank? Man, we're doing electronic ganking. You can Bluetooth gank people now, which is kind of what I guess Nocturne does. It's a Bluetooth gank. I guess really that's more Shen's thing. Shen is really more of a Bluetooth ganker, because in that he's really not doing a whole lot of damage to you initially. But it's just like, I don't know. I'm going to drop that analogy. I'm butchering that. But still not what you would have wanted for Fully Anointed out of that Nocturne ult. You would have liked to get a little bit more. You would have for sure liked to get a guaranteed kill. You would have liked to kill Baby Josh. But you'll settle for getting the summoners right now. It opens up opportunities here the next couple of minutes, especially when there's a neutral objective to play for. And speaking of neutral objectives, there's a potential for BP to get this one as the call is going to come out from Route 16. I said the Rift Herald. I don't know why I said the Rift Herald. The Grubs, as the Hacker is going to get focused here by both of the members, rather multiple members here of TTQ. As Route 16 going underneath the turret, wants to try and collect the double kill. Baby Josh gets it with the Yumi taking up the turret. Just enough health to make sure that the Route 16 didn't take too much damage. The TTQ, they are in absolute control of this bot side. Route 16 is absolutely out of control. 4-2-0 on the Lucian. Doesn't even care about this deaths he's given over. Says, I don't even need my jungle for this one. You can get 2, I can get 2. Whatever you can do, I can do better. And right now, the team formerly known as Q, they're happy with this early game. 7-2, a pretty significant gold lead. Just about 5,000 in their pocket. Feel really good. They got all 3 grubs. They've got an early dragon. They've got a bunch of early kills. The gold's going exactly where they want it to. On their most dangerous members on Nocturne and Lucian. So it's hard to say that you're being hard done by right now. Nocturne has his ultimate. So Death Star needs to be careful how far he wants to step up. It is just a really, really easy engage there for the side of the TTQ jungler. And for BP right now, the focus should just be trying to preserve their lane states and just slowly farm. Right now, you're not in a position to contest for anything. Baby Josh, I don't know why he's stepping this far forward. He doesn't have a lot of health to work with. There's no summoners. He's going to get stunned up. The Channel Crystal Arrow buys just a little bit of space, but it's only enough to send the jungler straight into their back line as the support is dead. The hacker just lives with a sliver of HP. Death Star here, flash forward, manages to get the exhaust onto Root. He will be dropping it now. Sox Clinton forced to find another ride, but Taylor Swift, he's matching the roam here, so it is just going to be a 1-for-1 trade in that bot side. Or rather, no, it wasn't a 1-for-1. I'm sorry. Nobody died for the side of BP. No, it was. Sorry. I'm lying. The fight went so long that I forgot that Baby Josh died right at the beginning of it. I'm crazy. So it was a 1-for-1 trade there. And Baby Josh, I think, just a little too aggressively forward. To be honest with you, especially with no summoners, and especially knowing that Nocturne is still in the area, you should always assume he's looking bot side. And I think for BP, constantly communicating that should have been key. Because this Nocturne knows that without summoners in that bot side, it's going to be a constant focus there. It's just an easy regank every time. And right now, the danger that BP's in is that they're starting to get slowly pushed further and further back in their lanes. That's going to make it difficult for them to try and stall out the game in terms of getting even in CS. Yeah, but if they can slow this game down a little bit, refocus, you know, trying to play for an objective as a team rather than taking these individual skirmishes where TTQ really want to fight, then they'll have a chance to slowly climb back in this game. But they need to stop giving over kills and gold to the members of TTQ. Specifically, they need to stop giving gold over to Route 16 and into Fully Anointed. The champions you really don't want having a tremendous gold lead, which is what they have right now. And so the reward for TTQ for their hard-earned early game focus is going to be a second dragon. It confirms that we will be getting a Hextech Soul, which is, in my opinion, it's like the second or third best dragon. In my opinion, the order is Infernal, Ocean, and then Hextech, because Hextech is just so obnoxious if you have a poking champion. And on Lucian, it's turbo obnoxious as well, just getting that stacking, or that periodic slowdown that the Hextech gives, which is really, really difficult if you're trying to run away from TTQ, which BP will be doing a lot of right now, so just having a further element in their back pocket that helps them take these team fights and slow down anybody that's trying to get away from them. TTQ will be happy about that. So if they can pick up this Hextech Dragon here in a couple of minutes, they'll be really, really happy with the state of the game. Not that they aren't already. And it gives them a tremendous amount of leverage over BP, because if you're responding to somebody that already has 3 dragons, that means every dragon after that you have to respond to, unless you're dead, in which case then I guess you just kind of cry and try and phone it in. Baby Josh, he's going to access the ultimate, trying to buy a little bit of space. Meanwhile, though, in the mid lane, Taylor Swift is the next to fall. It's dual focus here. Route 16. And Sox trying to find just a little bit of damage. Durrell forced to flash out. Root. God, the turret not enough to dissuade him. He wants to pick up both of these kills, but as soon as he sees the hacker, he's going to have to back off. Durrell doesn't have access to the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, so we'll just be forced to let it go. There's an element where maybe, or there's a possibility where maybe if he has that ultimate, he could look to potentially set up Hacker to just run them down, but no such ability available, so he will instead just have to watch his Route 16 and Sox just get to do whatever the hell they want. And Fully Anointed is even here as well, just continuing to put pressure on this bot side, making sure that Baby Josh and Jarrell do not feel safe at any moment. And kudos to TTQ, very much different game than we saw in game 1. You can see where their composition flourishes. You can see the draft idea coming through. And their execution on it in this early game has been really, really good. For BP, I'd really like to see them trying to find ways to just slow this game down. And as has been said so often, you know, when we cast games, it's all about making a checklist of things that you know that you can afford to live without. And making sure that you're not overextending in areas of the map where you really don't have control. And that includes paying a lot of respect to the fact that this Nocturne has full run of the map. And there's really not a whole lot that you can do about it. And so for Jarrell and Baby Josh, you know, they're very, very behind their lane counterparts. It's level 8 for Root. He's got that completed Essence Reaver, so just does a tremendous amount of damage. For Lucian, that's kind of that one-item power spike that you look for when you really want to start to see some early team fighting. The Rift Herald is going to be available in the next 30 seconds. TTQ, obviously, they'd like to get priority over that objectives. Enchanted Crystal Arrow going to go absolutely nowhere. So big ability for them that they would have liked to have for a potential team fight coming up here in the next minute. As Route 16 going to throw out the ultimate and put the damage into the back, or the faces rather, the BP bot laners. Chunks about half their health for both of them. Not what you want to be seeing if you're trying to potentially set up a team fight if you're a hacker. But knowing that ability is down, I guess Gifts gives you some relief knowing that Lucian can't use it again right now. So you'll have to wait. He'll have to wait a little while, but also doesn't necessarily apparently seem to need that ultimate, as this is potentially just going to be disastrous here for BP. Is to be a full bot lane gank here. Fully Anointed landing the tether. They want to try and see if they can lock up this Ashe as well, but they will just settle for the support there. Meanwhile, on the top side, though, Silver trying to see what he could get done. As it's going to be the Ornhorn called out to buy just a little bit of space. It's Ricky just with a sliver of health there, but Route 16 on the bot side going to pick up this turret. Will be traded for Rift Herald on the top side. So rather than making a play for that neutral objective, they decide to just make the trade. Yep, we're going to just give that up. We're not necessarily worried about Rift Herald right now. We know that you can't do too much with it. We know that we're going to have Pry on the bot side. We're going to get the first turret. So for you to use Herald, you're going to have to group as 5. And we know that you don't want to do that right now because you're not very strong. And so TTQ just decided to make that trade. They're happy with that. But for BP, that Herald could potentially be an avenue to contest for a dragon. Not that they're in a really great state to team fight right now. I think they probably just need to take that drag or that Herald to a side lane, probably top lane, and see if they can set up a dive on It's Ricky. It's really it's not. I was gonna say it's disastrous. It's really undesirable to give up 3 dragon lead right now and put yourself on drag point. But I just think they don't have the option. I think that they just have to make a play towards a different lane and try and get Turgle wherever they can because they're not in a position where they can fight TTQ right now. I mean, Root has basically 2.5 items built. And Fully Anointed has his completed Stride Breaker. He's really, really difficult to deal with. And they just don't have the summoners and the protection they need to keep the squishes alive. Death Star and Jarrell not in a position where they can really do anything about it. They're kind of just watching this dragon going down. And I think running out the right play. Hacker, though, he wants to see if he can walk forward and steal this. In fact, does. Right in the face of 3 people, just says, thanks for the leash. I'll take that. All right, BP. Okay, I see you. I wasn't familiar with your game. They just decide they're going to trade for that objective anyways. Silver going to take It's Ricky across the wall. He's going to summon up the Ornhorn and not able to summon it back. Silver gets the solo kill in the top side. The Untofo strikes doing all the damage. And It's Ricky now. He's going to have to sit in the fountain and rethink the choices in his life that led him to that moment. But surely his teammates will be saying, hey, it's okay. Don't just shrug that one off. Doesn't even matter. We're trading for literally everything across the map. Even though we did lose the dragon. It's okay. It's okay. Have strong mental. So BP, I like this. I like the strong mental. I like that they're trying to trade for something. I would have thought that the trade would have been... well, in fact, the trade was for the Rift Herald. And then they got a little bit more off of that, which I think was great. So, they get the Rift Herald and they get the dragon. So, not bad for them. I think additionally, too, what's great for them is it gives them a little bit of peace of mind knowing that they've temporarily stopped the drag stacking from TTQ. So they know that they have a little bit of space to work with in terms of if they need to get the next one, it's not the worst thing in the world. And they prevent themselves from getting in a really sticky spot where they would have been forced to fight for the 4th dragon with TTQ being on drag point. So, heads up play, smart. And it feels even better too knowing that Silver got a solo kill on that top side and a little bit of alone time with the turret. It's Ricky too, down 2 levels. Needs to be careful though. Nocturne waiting in the wings. He's going to get seen now, fully anointed. Finds the Q, but Silver should be fine. Is just going to go unstoppable just to make sure that there's no further follow-up. Silver just wants to grab the minion, but again, needs to be very careful of his positioning because that Nocturne ultimate is available. And he is ready to make the lands of the Rift Herald, or the Summoner's Rift dark and spooky and full of terrors. And for BP, I like that they've slowly started to kind of deliver on what's been asked, which is to slow down the game a little bit where possible. You know, they're still having to see objectives across the map where maybe it kind of doesn't feel good, but where they know that they have to. So they're not making any crazy plays trying to defend objectives that are for sure going to go down against them. And I think also paying respect to the fact that Root is in such a strong spot right now. Eventually they will reach a point where that Lucian starts to fall off, but that position, that point is a while away from now. As it's Ricky looking to get his revenge right now. Going to call out the Oran Horn, but he does go unstoppable, and yep, it's just going to be the full commit here. 4 strong on the top side. It's Ricky donated the kill. And they will look to siege that turret and knock it down. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, though, they want to place the Rift Herald here. They could place it bot side as well and potentially get more value out of it. So right now, BP kind of being strong across the map. They're not really sure where they want to go right now, and that's kind of... You're seeing that right now in the body language in terms of how they're rotating across the map. They just don't feel like they have a good answer to anything right now. You know, they're not in charge of the tempo. And TTQ are very much in control of this game. They're going to knock down all 3 outer turrets and have lost none of their own so far, which is a fantastic spot to be in. Definitely not like the last game. Already more kills, much better position. And now that Ornn has started to reach, he's level 13, these subsequent levels, they'll start to result in ornaments for the rest of TTQ. Anyway, I think the right call for him is to immediately try and upgrade Route 16. I think he's just the strongest player other than the Nocturne on the Rift right now. You want to give that Lucian as much extra damage right now as you can, knowing that eventually he will start to fall off. For BP right now, if you want to try and make any plays, if you're looking towards how they get back in this game, it's them committing heavy resources on knocking down Route 16, on trying to get a wraparound gank and making sure that you can burst him down. Because the other trade-off right now is a lot of their damage is locked up in this Lucian and in this Nocturne. Eventually that will switch to being more heavily coming from the Orianna. Right now, Route 16's damage is really good. Good enough for them to be comfortable enough sieging on this mid lane turret. It's 4 strong on the bot side. They may not necessarily know how many members of TTQ are here, but they're looking for a full wraparound. Silver is here. They want to at least knock down 1. Nocturne ultimate at the end. The ultimate coming out from the Aurora. Knocks down 1, fully anointed on the backside. Went a little too deep and has been left all on his lonesome at BP. Even despite the disadvantage of the money and the gold, their team fighting is just too good. Shutdown coming out. It's a triple kill for Aurora. It's Ricky gets here just in time to see his team get absolutely decimated. To hell with the gold and your items. The save BP. They're running straight to the big purple worm. They have the damage. That's what we're talking about. No matter the game state, BP, that was super impressive. And that gold lead that TTQ had has now just been absolutely eviscerated. There is nothing left. And BP, they're going to be wearing purple. They're going to look for this reset, and they can potentially go out for the dragon if they can get it out fast enough. Does it's Ricky even want to come take a look at this? No, he's just going to peep in to see that it is in fact going down, but with 2,000 health and no jungler, nothing that he can do about it. The recall's going to come out. Ooh, it's Ricky. Does he want to stop them? Manages to stop one, but it's just being pesky. Wants to make sure that they can't go contest for the dragon, so Pink's coming out there. TTQ. As a consolation prize, they're going to get that, but that was a disastrous team fight. And I cannot stress how big that was. Even with all the advantages that TTQ had built up, even with the gold lead, oh, hacker. Oh, does he do it a second time? No, he's not going to do it. He's going to call it off. If he had jumped in there and stole the second dragon in a row, it would have been, I think, just disastrous for TTQ's mental. Silver is going to look to help Jarrell clean this up here on this Ornn. He really has no way to get away. He summoned the Ornn Horn earlier and got nothing out of it. Tries to go invulnerable for some reason, even knowing, though, that this route not really going to make a difference. He's just buying time. A teleport going to come out as well, though. The Lucian's just dead automatically again. Aurora on the backside. Deathstar has had his number twice in a row now. And the Yuumi manages to get away, but that's just a really crappy consolation prize. You're just happy you lived there. You want to talk about push, go, engage. BP, they are finding these moments. And Fully Noited has, I guess, been caught off guard twice now, trying to buy a little bit of space for his team, trying to, in that first team fight, get on the back line, but managed to find nothing. And then on this one was just caught with his pants around his ankles, not being fast enough on the draw. By the time he got there, Route 6 team was just dead. This Lucian, that was 5-2 earlier, he's now 5-5, and my goodness, is just as squishy as a piece of paper floating down a river. And now this turret gold going to start to help even up what little was left as gold lead. If Silver kills Sox in front of 3 people here, this would categorically be funny. I think he is going to get away, though, if he manages to get this blast cone. Oh, the blast cone, though, only sends him back. And he should be able to make his way towards his team, assuming that other members of BP start to rotate over. This is taking a long time to kill him. Really not the member you want to be trying to knock down right now without Route 16 being there. And so ultimately not punished for his sins of being overextended. Oh, Jarrell manages to pop the barrier to buy a little bit of space. Enchanted Crystal Arrow does absolutely nothing against Clintz, but he's still dead. Deathstar, once again, does not allow him to live. Fully Noited manages to get Jarrell on the backside, but now he's bought a one-way ticket. Manages to flash out, though, and now it's Ricky, who was trying to follow up to buy space. He's also forced to flash out, and BP, with the remainder of this Baron, they're going to siege this mid lane turret. It's a 1-for-1. And BP, they have done their homework. They have correctly identified that they can win this game if they can kill this Lucian. Oh, and Route 16, who was having such a good game earlier, is now having a really bad time. And Deathstar, if they end up winning this game off of these performances, then they are starting to slowly eke out their own gold lead. Deathstar, MPV caliber performance under the turret. I guess you just get to conjure magical bullshit. I guess the game's different for you and you kill people in front of their friends underneath fully healthy structures. I guess that's how this game goes. And Deathstar putting on a clinic on this Aurora. My goodness, I support building a wall as long as it's around that guy so he can't play League anymore. TTQ, they're probably feeling the same thing. They're probably saying, get this guy off the rift. Deathstar running around with hands, and they're rated E for everybody. He's got goods. He's like, I can serve it to your junglers. I can serve it to your ADC. I can give it to your mid laner. Everybody can get some. In a minute 44 till this dragon starts, you're starting to not feel very confident that TTQ are in charge of this game. It was the first 18 minutes were really going their way. Route 16, it wasn't that long ago that he was sieging under a mid-tier 2 turret in front of 3 people walking towards jungle, but then, you know, you fast forward 30 seconds and it starts to not look so good. And Deathstar on this Aurora. Continue to keep your eyes peeled in this next kind of fight because, believe you me, these guys are going to have a knockdown drag out around this Hextech Soul. BP, they really don't want to let this go. If you could slowly start to eke your way back in terms of the drag advantage and even it up. And that was exactly how it was in the last game. The TTQ getting a drag advantage and then just losing team fights. And BP looking like a straight up LPL team. Shades of JDG. You might be able to get some advantages in lane, but when they reach 5v5, you better hold fast. They're going to take you for a ride. And Route 16, who originally had a massive gold advantage, is now a level behind Jarrell, who has not had as much time. Oh, Fully. He needs to be very, very careful here. Oh, one cleaver does about a fourth of his health. And BP, once again, in a really, really good spot in this river. They have absolute control over this side of the map. They've been really good at choking out this vision here from the side of TTQ. Keep your eyes on Route 16. Keep your eyes on Fully Anointed. Look for them to try and lock down Jarrell and lock down Death Star. This Aurora, though, waiting off on the wings on the opposite side here. The TTQ trying to group, trying to make sure that Aurora can't get easy access to the Orianna, to the Lucian. And they're just slowly trying to poke each other out right now with the healing and the shielding. And the health bar is really good for both teams. And Hacker, a difficult champion on that Mundo to knock down. Silver, he's just looking for as well. They've got multiple pick angles here. But this is the hard part for TTQ. If all of your members are seeing, like if you know where the Nocturne's at, it's easier for BP to play around you. But this is going to be the go button. It's Ricky. He's going to get the Ornhorn onto a couple. They've already on a ball. Does absolutely nothing. Just a moment of CC as Aurora yet again getting a huge kill. And now it's Ricky trying to run for the hills. It's a double for Death Star. Taylor Swifty's trying to get the hell out of Dodge, but nowhere to go. And meanwhile, Route 16, just the last damage carry left alive. And it's gonna be the Yumi just left as a stack. A double kill for Jarrell as he finally gets the payoff. And a second dragon for BP. Their team fighting is ungodly in this series. And what only 10 minutes ago looked like TTQ potentially being able to even up the series and pushing us to a game 3 now looks like a faraway dream. BP have just been lethal in these team fights. Every other team in the league, take notice. You want to try and out-team fight these guys? Good luck. Good credit, bad credit, no credit, hell, ghost credit. They'll take a fight anywhere on any credit. And you have to give massive respect to their comeback in this game because they were down very heavily up to that 18-minute mark. Up until that first fight underneath that tier 2 when it rotated towards their side of the jungle. And just getting those pickoffs, that Lucian just getting absolutely destroyed. And now we're reaching the point where you're not even start to remember that TTQ was even in the lead with how dominant BP are right now. And for TTQ, they've got to find a way to spread this composition for BP out. The strength of their composition is making sure that they can isolate specific members, that they can pick people off with a man disadvantage, that you can commit Route 16 with the Yumi and then throw the Nocturne over the top and pick somebody off. But when you're standing in a death ball comp, when BP can see you, well, then it makes the guy that can turn off the lights not so scary. It's like, hey, like, I get that you're turning off the light switch, but, like, you're within 5 feet of me. I'm not scared of you. Oh, Death Star needs to be very careful. Route 16 just gets obliterated in his side of the map, standing in front of his friends. Oh, just did him dirty. Say it ain't so. Death Star, with no regard for human life, just deletes him out of the turret, and this might be the end. They're wearing purple. It's 4 alive. Their major damage carry is done. That's going to be the Topho Strikes pulling him back. It's Ricky just trying to take up as much as he can, but there's no space. There's not enough health bars on the members of TTQ to live. It's 4 dead, and it's just going to be the Yumi to see the rest of the team fall and join them. BP, after amazing team fighting, turned this game on its head, and they collect a 2-0 win over TTQ.